many liberals, I believe, many who, because I've met lots, yeah, many. We can't negotiate with all of them, yeah, because if they're Marxist or if they're communist, then it's ideologically the reason why they won't debate you or argue with you, because they've got a different world they're trying to create. But most liberals are genuinely decent, loving, nice people, and they're naive, they're thick, they're stupid, because they don't understand. And so when I was talking to Russell, Russell said, look, I understand you're uniting the kingdom. And the point was, you need to unite everyone. And we are trying to unite Britain. But what I explained to him is Pew Research, government Pew Research, says that 33% of British Muslims want Sharia law. That is 1.2 million Muslims in the UK wish to overthrow our democratic state and replace it with an Islamic supremacist ideology that wishes to subjugate us.
It's very important, by the way, for people to understand something, a little caveat, and I want you to keep going. Well, the Quran, which I've actually read cover to cover, the Quran is a blueprint for how to run society. There is really no separation of church and state in an Islamic society. It has to be a theocracy because the Quran is a blueprint for how to do your banking, how to conduct your marriage, how to do literally everything in a society. And that's very important. It's a very important distinction between the liberal democracies of the West and the Enlightenment period, which really created a separation of church and state versus Islam. But keep going.
Yeah, every single aspect of life is dictated by the Quran. Every single part of life is a full system, yeah? And they wish to replace democracy. So how do we, like you say, unite 1.2 million Muslims that want this? Yeah, 40,000 British Muslims are on a terrorist watch list. 40,000. We only have 70,000. 40,000. We only have 70,000 armed forces. So how do we unite with these people? When we look at the figures, out of that 40,000, 3,000 of them are monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at a cost of £9 billion a year. Now, all of these problems that come from the Islamic community, when it was a smaller community, because every 10 years, if we look at the numbers, I looked at the numbers in Manchester after the Ariana Grande concert. Manchester is basically the capital of the North. It's the London of the North. Yeah. So Ariana Grande concert, Salman Abedi, who was a Libyan migrant whose father come to our country as a terrorist, and we still give him asylum when we knew he was part of a terrorist organisation. His son then becomes a terrorist. His son goes back and forward from Libya during the conflict. His son then decides to blow up loads of children, murdering 26. Yeah, that's what he did at a child's concert. Now, when he did that, I decided to delve and look at Manchester. Manchester's not even known as a radical jihadist hotspot in the UK. And I stood outside a mosque. And when I stood outside the mosque and I researched, I found that within a 2-mile radius of me, 18 Muslims had gone to fight for ISIS. From the 2-mile radius of where I was standing, 18 had gone to fight for ISIS. So I said, when you look around these houses, you may look and just think another normal community, but it's not. Amongst these houses are enemy combatants. That's who's living here. Yeah. Now, also when I looked in Manchester, I looked at the demographical change to Manchester. Now, 25%, there was a 25%, so 25,000 Muslims. Yeah. 10 years later, it was 50,000. 10 years later, it was 100,000. Yeah. Now, where's that going in 10 years? Because Manchester has a population. This is the biggest scare and the biggest weapon. And I'm telling you, I've grown up in a town like that. You look around, it's like, what the fuck? What the hell's happened here? What the hell has happened here? So then, Manchester has a population of 500,000 people. So are we 20 to 30 years away from that entire city disappearing? Now, as I said, I grew up in Luton, so I've seen this. I've seen the school that my ex-wife went to is now 100% Muslim. Wow. There's no non-Muslims there.
Wow.
Most of the schools now in my hometown of Luton are majority Muslim. Even if you go to the area or the estate that might not be majority Muslim, the junior school, the lower school, is now majority Muslim. Because in each of the houses, they have on average 5 children, 6 children. We have an average 1.3. So with that birth rate, and with the open border mass immigration, and with legal migration, which is a huge problem, with all of these things combined together, I just wrote a new book called Manifesto. We did the figures, the real figures. We looked, by 2041, we are a minority in Britain. Now, and I asked Russell Brand this. I said, Russell, because he used to have these liberal views, and I said, how do we embrace these people? They're terrorists, they're jihadists, they hate us, they despise us. How? I don't want to play games here. Yeah, the reason why I don't play games because each year the problem's getting worse. Every year terrorism's going up 60%. How do we deal with this? Because we've got children, and is it right that we, as Englishmen, become a minority, like in London, like in Luton, like in Bradford, like in Birmingham, like in many major cities now? They've taken many major cities. They're never going to be British again, ever. Now, why would that be a problem? Is it a problem? Now, when I grew up in Luton, I've seen the consequence of a dominant Islamic community. I've seen the loss of freedom. I've also seen the fear. I've seen the hostility. I've seen the rapes. I've seen the aggression. I've seen something that was totally different. And if I explain, when I grew up, Luton, my mum was an immigrant. Yeah, my mum comes from Ireland. Most of my friends, if you line us up, St. Lucian, Jamaican, Bulgarian, Italian, most of us are sons of immigrants in Luton. Luton is known as one of the most diverse towns in Europe. Yeah, so I've experienced what that's like, and the problem is for so many, the people who are dictating to us. So I've done an interview with a policy expert who was a speechwriter for Kofi Annan from the European Union, and he was an expert on multiculturalism. Yeah, this is the problem. And I said, okay, where were you brought up? Exeter. I'm just like, Exeter's 99.9% white Christian. You don't know what you're talking about. It's like someone reading a book about becoming a bricklayer and thinking you can build a house.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Well, it's like people are protesting the presence of the National Guard in Chicago, which is a war zone in parts of Chicago, like West and South Chicago. And the people protesting are the white liberals that live in Lincoln Park and those areas where they don't have any crime and their kids can just scoot around and there's no worries. It's like, you don't know what it's like for black people who live down in that area where there are shootouts all the time. A lot of those people want the National Guard. They just want to be able to go to the store in peace and not worry about getting shot from a car, etc. So yeah.
The black parents who are losing their children in gang warfare.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So these people have no idea. So I said, you're the expert. How are you the expert? You have no idea. But because I have grown up in a multicultural town, I do have an idea. And per se, Sikhs, Hindus, Christian migration from the Caribbean, it's worked. It's okay.
It's been great. It's been great. It's the secret of America too. Immigration has been the secret of as long as people assimilate and take on the values of essentially what the Constitution lays down. I mean, or what made Britain such an influence in the world, one of the hotbeds of innovation, artistic and otherwise. Then we got no problem. From what my vantage point is, when you have people that are outright hostile to the actual country they've emigrated to. And I know that they justify it by saying, well, you guys made a mess of my country and that's why I'm here. So then there's this whole narrative about the West being evil and the biggest terrorists, and that's what destabilized the Middle East, and you get into this conversation, which is impossible to have. So yeah.
Well, growing up, like at my school, we had the Muslim playground and the non-Muslim playground. The divide was never racial.
No.
They did not assimilate at all. You go into the school dinner hall, everyone's sat together, whites, blacks, Indians, Chinese, everyone's integrated. In the corner, 10 tables of Muslims. Yeah.
Well, so that's an important distinction, because this is not about the way it's painted a lot of times as well. These were the Muslim immigrant, the children of the former colonies of the UK, etc. That's certainly how the French Algerians are painted. This is not an economic thing. This is actually an ideological thing, isn't it? I mean, the divide is ideological. The divide is religious. The divide is a belief system that is uncompromising and not compatible with the things that we consider to be Western values.